Okay. Next, let's take a look at here in our elevation view. We know that where the overhang is, we already measured that, right? That 5 feet and 5 feet down. So the height from the 0 up was 7 feet. Now, if we take a look at where the portal is at, the height of the portal is 10 feet. The depth here for this opening for the portal is of 2 feet. So if you have 2 feet here and 2 feet here, because we're working with a 45-degree triangle, then that means that this shadow, the height of it is at 8 feet. Well, this one was 7 feet, which means this one's lower. Therefore, because this one's lower, we're going to continue with this line. Remember this measurement here of going down 5 feet. We're going to continue down here because that shadow will cover whatever is being casted from here. So let's go ahead and continue. Because it's going back, right now this line is going from vanishing point right when we had this line here that was measured from, we went up 7 as a reminder. From the 0, we went up 7, then we went to our vanishing point left. Where it intersected this back wall, we went to our vanishing point right. So now, because of this depth, we're going to go in the opposite direction, go to vanishing point left, and measure from that height. So from here to there, it's going to be a very slight slope, a very slight slant in the line here. It's going to be very subtle. And then you're going to go to your vanishing point right. So it's just going to be slightly underneath the line that's already there. So just slightly underneath it. Okay. Slightly underneath. It's not a lot. But from here, we went to vanishing point left, where it intersected this corner here. Then we went to vanishing point right to finish that line. Okay. So those are the lines we need for our shadows. Those are the lines. Awesome. Okay, so what's next? Once you've determined, okay, how far down our shadow line is going to go, right here, here, and then going in there. Well, there's also shadow being casted on the floor here, here, and there. How do we know that? Well, remember the sun is over here to the right. So the sun rays are going from right to left. When it hits this corner, which ends up being a shade line, this corner here goes to there, that line, we're going to go ahead and project up to know where that shadow is. And then the same here. From this shade line to this shadow line, we're going to go ahead and project up those lines. From here to there, to the bottom edge of the building. Let me bring this down a little bit. And from here, at that intersection to there. Now we should be able to just draw a horizontal line and it should land there. So from this point here to this one, and then from this shadow edge, or excuse me, shade edge to this shadow, this shade, excuse me, this shade line to the shadow line here, right there. Okay, so let me see if I can bring in another light source. Let's see if this helps at all. Oh, sorry. See if that helps. Let's see. Is it too dark if I try? Maybe a little less reflection there. But we see where your shadow on the ground is going to be here, shadow there, and then inside here. So this is your shadow line, and then this is all going to be in shade. So what values are you going to use? What values, what tonal values, what levels, right? So we talked about in the lecture 4 different levels when it comes to tonal values, from a light gray to a much darker gray, right? Almost black. Do you remember that? Let me see if I can share this with you just as a reminder. So this is the slide I'm referring to. So light gray, dark gray, and then black, right? These are the different tonal values. So with that being said, anything that the sun's hitting would be your lightest. So that, for example, would be a number 1. Then your shadows being casted on the ground, that would be the darkest because you're not getting any light. That would be a number 4. So if we were going to go ahead and review this together, based off of the information from what we learned here and looking at this example, notice how where the sun's hitting it, that's the lightest. So I would call that like a number 1. The darkest area close to black being number 4. Notice how the surface that is adjacent to the black here, that's like a number 2. And then what we see down here under the overhang where you have the wall that's recessed is a number 3. So using this example in our textbook as a guide, we can go ahead and kind of number code how you're going to add your tonal values. If you've ever done painting by numbers before, it's similar to that, where each surface has a number. So let me go ahead and pull this over. And let's zoom in so we can talk about it. Let me bring this down just a tad. Let me make that, there you go. So if this helps, the surface that, again, that the sun is hitting, that is a number 1, your lightest. So you don't have to add anything really there, okay? The darkest areas, the shadows on the ground, that's a number 4. So here's a 4, 4, and 4. This face is a 1, and then this face right here is a 1. This is a 1. Then the shade under the overhang here, these are 3s. This one here is a 3. And then the surface here that is adjacent to the 4, the darkest, that's 2. So we have a 2 there, a 2 here, and a 2 there. Now, again, this is based off of the example we have in our text. So using these same values, that's what I want you to do for your assignment 3. So if it makes it easier, I know there's lots of numbers there. So if it makes it a little easier, let's take a look. Let me bring this down just a tad. Okay, let me zoom out. Again, we're talking about tonal values here, but let's do a 1 being the lightest, the 2 just slightly darker, a 3 slightly darker, and then 4 the darkest of them all. Okay. Now when we're looking here, I'm going to go ahead and use highlighters. It helps me. Now when you're doing your tonal values, don't use highlighters. Remember, you're going to use the hatching, cross hatching, stippling, or scribble technique. So as a reminder, let me bring those over. These here. So you can use hatching, cross hatching, scribbling, or stippling. Hatching, cross hatching could be drafted. Hatching could be done by hand as well. Scribbling is done by hand, stippling is done by hand. Cross hatching, it's cleaner, it's better when it's cleaner when it's done by using drafting tools, but it could be done by hand if you're careful. Okay. So again, looking at this here, I'm just going to use, I'm going to go ahead and use my highlighters. So my lightest right here, probably be better just not even to touch. I won't touch that. lightest will be nothing. The second one, level 2 will be my yellow. Level 3 will be blue. My darkest will be my pink. Okay. So our ones here, 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 not going to worry about, not going to deal with. 4s, those are the easiest. So I'm going to go ahead and start with those. Here. That's a 4. This is a 4. This is a 4. Don't forget these. Many times students forget these little guys. These are shadows on the ground. Don't forget them. Okay. Don't forget those little guys. 2s. So we said the surfaces that are adjacent to the 4, the darkest ones, right? So we said this one here, this one, and that one. So we have 3 of them. It's this one. These are our 2s. It's this one. And then this one. Okay. And then our 3s, I'll do that in the blue. So our 3s is within the overhang, all of this here, and then this one here, and that one there. Okay. So from here, oh, I need to project that one up. Almost forgot that one. So from here, I'm going to project this one up because it's casting a shadow onto this wall, and this is casting a shadow onto that wall. This edge, that is, right? So the shade edge is creating a shadow edge or shadow line right here. Oop. Let's see. Make sure your triangles are square on the parallel bar. Mine was a little off, so let me go ahead and just redo that really quick. Try to avoid doing that with your hands. Sorry. And let's see right here. I'm going to turn the light back on here so it's easier for me to see. Okay. Looks like it's a little too far to the right. When drafting, you want to be very careful. Make sure you have enough light so that your lines are accurate. Okay, that's better. Okay. So our 3s, as we mentioned, would be in here. So this is going to be a 3. This will be a 3. And it's actually going to continue all the way inside here. Okay. Depending the style of the shading technique that you choose, you want to avoid having these harsh lines. When you look at a shadow, it's not a harsh line that's differentiated from the rest of the shade. So be mindful of that. So here, for example, this blue, right, the level 3 goes from here into that. I wouldn't have a dividing line. So since I know that's all the same, you know, depending on how I do the fill, that would all be 1. And then in here, this would all be 1. As well. Okay.